Hey everyone, welcome back to Seven Shepherds Farm. Today we're going to go over but a lot of the many reasons that we purchased sheep back in 2021. So as you know, we like sheep because of their size, being around a lot of young kids. We like that they're easy to manage, especially the way that we manage them, moving them around on forage year round. But also there was a reason that we purchased them back in 2021 that maybe we haven't really talked about, but we're going to talk about that today.
Yeah, so everybody remembers what happened in 2020. So that kind of was an eye-opener for us, and I guess probably for a lot of people around the country. And kind of homesteading became way more popular about that year, and self-sufficiency also became more of a priority. So that's definitely one of the reasons why sheep kind of became on our radar. Just a smaller animal, like Courtney said. You can handle them without much equipment. There's just a lot of advantages to the sheep versus a larger animal like a cow or any other large animals that you want to eat basically or raise. So yeah, the sheep, like I said, in 2020 became evident that it could be a time where we have to fend for ourselves. So if we had to do that,
at the time we only had cows and chickens, some laying hens. So we were kind of like, that's great. At least we have a farm, we have a couple animals, but cows only go so far to feed you. I mean, they do feed you, but it takes 2 years to raise one out, and it takes a lot of people to eat one cow.
Well, yeah, if everything hit the fan and we had to preserve a cow, butcher, and you get 400 pounds of meat back, that'll be fine in the winter time, but in the summertime it's 90 plus degrees, and it's just not going to stay good for very long. So that's kind of entered our train of thought. So that's one reason we kind of just started to dabble in the sheep at that point. We only had 4 sheep when we started, and then we just kind of fell in love with them honestly after that. So
we were kind of like, they would multiply fast. They would be an easy meal for our family to enjoy if we had to live in hard times. And so
so some of the key pros, I guess, for sheep in a situation where, so let's say we lose electricity or something for a long period of time, or even if the butcher shops are just clogged up like they were in 2020, we couldn't get into a butcher shop for 6 months.
Yeah.
So if you don't have the equipment,
food shortage in the
to
stores,
do it at home,
yeah,
it's really hard to butcher a beef at home without any equipment. So, but with a sheep, you get 30 pounds, 100-pound lamb, you basically get 30 pounds of meat off of that thing whenever you're done butchering it. So it's a lot more manageable. You don't have to worry about necessarily food preservation as much because it's being preserved on the hoof. So they're alive. They're preserved that way, and you can kind of butcher one at a time and get through that meat before it goes bad. But back to I guess the processing portion. I mean, you could easily process a sheep
by hand
as long as you had a rope and a tree. You can kind of, you don't even really need that, but you can pull it up in the tree and skin it out. I mean, it's like butchering a rabbit practically. It's like butchering a large rabbit. They would butcher a sheep. So you can do that with just a simple knife.
So yeah, easy to process, smaller size, easy to manage. They can live off of grass alone. We have proved that over the last 5 years. Honestly, there was a time when we didn't even use mineral for our sheep. I mean, we just, they were raised by nothing but grass. And so, and it worked. Management, move them often, and they can live off of grass alone, believe it or not. So, obviously they reproduce faster than a cow, and you can butcher them way sooner than a cow. So.
Right. Yeah,
and I go off of cows just because that's the other thing we were raising.
Well, right.
But pigs, pigs require grain. They can the pigs were just not an option. We didn't think so.
Yeah. So we're mainly talking about small or ruminant animals, ones that don't require grain. So in times of shortage, grain's going to be hard to find too. So if you can get something that's, going to live off of grass, that would be ideal, because grass grows naturally, so it's always available except for in the wintertime. And even then you can still graze grass if you stockpile, so it's there.
Yeah. Also, like the meat off of a sheep or a lamb is nutritious. There's sources of iron, zinc, B vitamins, healthy omega fats, so it's just a nutritious source too of meat. And then also, like, they don't take a lot of water to survive. Obviously, if times got really hard and there was no electricity, we wouldn't have water. And so cows require a lot of water. So you'd have to, they would have to be in paddocks that had large ponds or large creeks or,
Yeah. There was a time,
places with a lot of water sources.
2 years ago, we had a couple of paddocks that we didn't have running water to, so I would actually just haul 20-gallon tubs of water to the sheep. So we had 100 sheep, so I was doing it a couple times a day, but it can still be done, even without electricity. You can water the sheep if you absolutely had to. If you had a fair amount of cows drink way more, I feel like, per pound than sheep do. Sheep get a lot of their moisture from the grass, so especially in the winter time, if they're on stockpile, a lot of times they don't hardly drink any water. I mean, they'll drink a little bit, but not much.
Right. Basically, if we were going to have to pick one animal for self-sufficiency, if we were going to lose power for an extended period of time, sheep, we feel, would be our best option. So we're lucky to have a lot of them. Some of the cons that really the only cons we can think of is like predator control. So we would have to keep dogs to protect them, and you have to feed dogs to keep them alive. But obviously we'll have all of the, organs and bones from the sheep to feed them. And there are other ways to feed the dogs, squirrels, rabbits, things like that. We wouldn't have as many dogs probably, but we would still have dogs, and they would be protecting our homestead and our flocks. So anyways, that would be about the only downfall, is trying to protect the sheep.
Yeah, cows would definitely be easier to protect, as they could pretty well, protect themselves. But I guess in that if it's in that situation, it'd be nice to have a guardian dog around too, just for personal protection, and with sheep protection. So they do have, somewhat of an advantage there too. But
yeah, we just thought it'd be an interesting little video because it's something that we think about often, and just having a homestead in general. We've had a lot of people ask us with our little store homestead business, if I'm just buying 10 acres, just starting out, what would be the best animal, that you think I should get on the farm? And our answer is usually either sheep, or sometimes if it's even smaller land, like rabbits are a good option too. But, sheep are manageable. You could buy milking sheep, you can get milk from them, They're just versatile in many ways. Yeah. So
I'd say if you have less than an acre, rabbits are probably your best bet. Rabbits and chickens.
Yeah, chickens can survive off of little amounts of food too. They just don't have a very long lifespan, and they're a little harder to keep alive.
We've had a hard time with rabbits.
Rabbits and chickens both. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. They require a lot of attention too. If you're gonna raise them on grass, you really have to move them a lot to keep them healthy. So, and also predators like to eat them. So anyways, we just thought it'd be a fun little video to make. Just what animal would you choose for your homestead if disaster would strike? What do you wish that you had a lot of? Obviously, like a milk cow is on our list, but we have a milk cow. But that would be another thing that I think is very beneficial, to have all that milk.
Right.
Source right at your hands too. But
with milk cow you get milk, cheese, butter.
Yeah. Another very beneficial animal to your homestead. But if I had to pick one, sheep would be the most versatile animal for self-sufficiency, we think. But if you have any other comments, or if you have an animal you think would be better, or if you have any comments about the sheep being the best, just drop them down below. And thanks for following along. Do you have anything else to add?
I don't think so.
We have a lot coming up this week. on the farm. We're gonna be vaccinating those 165 lambs for their second vaccine, second and final. And then also we're gonna be moving that large group into like a new paddock before we get a lot of rain, because they have to go across the creek to get there, and we all know that sheep would rather die than cross water. So while there's hardly any water, we're going to try to move them across the creek, and then we have to move our sheep across the county road. So anyways, we're going to take you along for all that this week. So we have it's a little more eventful.
Right. Work all the lambs. Yeah. Move every group of sheep we have, and work on our new lambing barn. We're trying to
Oh yeah.
a little orphan lamb barn.
Yeah, our kids
we're
are
prepping for lambing season, so we know we'll have some orphans. So we're currently working on a barn to keep all the orphans in. So
yeah, it was kind of like an old chicken barn, and our kids are working on fixing it up, and they're making like little stalls in there so they can feed out bottle lambs this summer while they're home. So anyways, they're pretty excited about that.
Yep.
We can give you a little update on it too. But anyways, well, thanks for following along on Seven Shepherds Farm, and let us know what you think down in the comments. We'll see you next week.